Hi class, in this video we're going to be talking about how to convert fractions to decimals. So to start, 3 over 10, that's basically 3 tenths. 27 over 100 is basically 27 hundredths. And 181 over 1,000 is simply 181 thousandths. So to start by converting fractions to decimals, we basically look at our denominator. Since this is out of 10, it's in the tenths. I simply know that my furthest place value to the right is going to be in my tenths. So I simply take the value that I see on the numerator and start filling it in, starting from the tenths place. So hence I put a 3 here. And then every other place value, if I got nothing else to fill out, I simply just write a 0 as a place value holder. Hence, this answer would just be 0.3. So 3 over 10 or 3 tenths is simply 0.3. For 27 over hundredths, because again, my denominator is out of 100, I'm in the hundredths place. I know that my place value must start in the hundreds. So I simply just start and I take the value that is furthest to the right, which in this case for 27 is the 7, and I start by filling it into the hundreds first. So I'm going to write 7 here, then I'm going to fill in the 2. And now I'm going to fill in the rest of my numbers with place value holders if I have nothing left. So this would simply be 0.27. So 27 over 100 is 0.27. Now for 181 over 1,000, because I'm over 1,000, that's the thousands, I know that I want to start filling out numbers in my thousands place. And I want to start with the rightmost digit. So in this case, this is the 1 here. I'm simply going to write 1. Then I fill in the next one, 8. Then I fill in 1 again. And then I fill in the rest with place value holders. So this will simply be 0.181. Now let's do some practice here. Here I have 7 over 10. So I'm in the tenths place. So I'm simply going to put the 7 in the tenths place, fill in a place value holder. So hence 7 over 10 is 0.7. Now for 5 over 10, same idea. I'm in the tenths place because I'm over 10. So in the tenths place, I'm just one place value after the decimal. So I'm going to fill in my 5 in the tenths place, then fill in the rest of my numbers with place value holders. Hence 5 over 10 is 0.5. Okay, for 54 over 100, once again, since I'm over 100, I'm in the hundredths place. Hence, right after the decimal, I have 2 place value holders. I'm going to start by filling in the 4 in my hundredths place. Then for my tenths place, I'm simply going to fill in the 5, which is what I have here. Then for the rest of the numbers, I simply put in 0 as place value holders. Hence, 54 over 100 is 0.54. Okay, 7 over 100. Once again, since over 100, I'm in the hundredths place. I have here a decimal, and the hundredths place is 2 place values older. Yes, it's 2 place values over from the decimal. So I have a 7. I'm simply going to start by filling the 7 to my smallest place value, so the hundredths. So I write the 7. Then I fill in the rest of my numbers with zeros. So my answer should be 0.07. Now for 512 over 1,000, since I'm over 1,000, I'm in the thousands place. Hence, I would have 3 place values over after the decimal place. So hence, 2 is the furthest to the right here. I simply start by filling in the thousands place with 2. Then I fill in 1. Then I fill in 5. And then I simply add a 0 as a place value holder. Hence, my final answer is 0.512. Okay, great. Now let's do the last one, or one of the last ones. Now, I'm in the thousands place, hence 3 place values after the decimal place. I'm simply going to fill in the furthest value that I have to the right, which in this case is the 5, in my thousands place. Then I fill in the 4 next. Now I have some empty place values left over. I simply just fill them in with 0. Hence, my final answer is 0.045. Okay, let's try some more examples here. Here I have 13 over 10. Since I'm in the tenths place, I'm basically 1 place value over after my decimal place. Here I have a 3, which is my furthest to the right. So I simply fill in 3 here after the decimal place. Then I fill in 1 right afterwards because I have to fill in the rest of my place values. Hence, 1.3 is my answer here. For 108 over 100, because I'm in the hundreds place, I simply have 2 place values over after the decimal. I'm simply going to start by filling in the smallest place value, which is the hundreds, with the furthest number that I have here to the right, which is an 8. So I'm going to write 8. Then I'm going to write 0 here, which is next. Then I simply write the 1. So my final answer is 1.08. Perfect. Now for my last one, I got 1415 over 1,000. So since I'm over 1,000, I know I have 3 place values over after the decimal. I'm hence just going to fill in the 5, the number to the right first, as my smallest value. So that's going to be 5, 1, 4, 1. Hence my final answer should be 1.415. So that's how you convert fractions to decimals. Now we're going to talk about more extreme cases. So in this case, the trick that we used earlier only worked because we had a base of tens, hundreds, and thousands. But what happens if your base is something different, like a 5? Well, here you're going to have to think about equivalent fractions. So what number can I multiply 5 by to turn it into something, let's say, like a 10? I'd have to multiply 5 by 2. And upon doing so, 5 times 2 is going to give me 10. But what I do to the bottom, I must do to the top as well. So since I multiplied 5 by 2, I must also multiply 2 by 2. In this case, 2 times 2 is 4. I got 4 over 10. Hence, now I can use my trick to convert 4 over 10 into a decimal. In this case, the decimal would simply be 0.4. Okay, now let's practice with these ones here. I got 7 over 50. So first things first, let's change the denominator to a base of 10, 100, or 1,000. For 50, I notice I can times it by 2 to let the bottom be 100. Great. But what I do to the bottom, I must do to the top as well. So I'm going to times 7 by 2. Hence, I have 14 over 100. Since it's 14 over 100, we know that as a decimal, it's going to be 0.14. Okay, great. Now for B, I got 3 over 20. So I'm going to want to change 20 to tens, 100, or 1,000. Now, I can divide 20 by 2, but if I divide 3 by 2, I would get a decimal number, which wouldn't make sense for a fraction. So hence, I'm going to times 20 by 5 instead. 20 times 5 is 100, and what I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So now I'm going to multiply 3 by 5, which is going to be 15. Now, 15 over 100 is simply going to be 0.15. And if you're confused how I got 0.15, please pause the video and go back to when I was explaining how to find these values when I have a base of tens, 100s, and 1,000. Now, to change 8 over 25 into a value for denominator into a value that is tens, 100s, or 1,000s, or maybe even 10,000, I'm simply going to take 25. I'm going to times it by 4 because I know that 25 times 4 is 100. And what I do to the top, I must do to, what I do to the bottom, I must also do to the top. So since I multiplied 25 by 4, I must multiply 8 by 4. In this case, I'm going to have 32 over 100, which is going to be 0.32. Okay, great. Now for 5 over 4, since 25 times 4 is 100, that means 4 times 25 is 100. So I'm going to multiply 4 by 25 to get 100. But since I multiplied 4 by 25, which is the bottom, I must also multiply 5 by 25, which would be my top. So 5 times 25 is 125. So my final answer as a decimal here would be 1.25. Okay, great. Now let's look at our last one here. Here I have 5,000. Now, I can divide 5,000 by 5 to get 100, but I don't believe I can divide 131 by 5 and get a nice number that isn't a decimal. So instead, I'm going to times 500 by 2. I'm going to times it by 2 here, okay? And upon timesing it by 2, I'm going to get 1,000. And since I multiplied 500 by 2, I'm going to have to multiply 131 by 2. So in this case, 131 times 2 is going to be 262. Hence, I got 262 over 1,000, which as a decimal number would just be 0.262.